Alrighty, so evaluating expressions. Let's just start by saying, what does evaluate mean? Evaluate really means simplify or solve or reduce, etc. I would say in this case, it does not mean solve because we're not going to be giving you equations, we're going to be giving you expressions, so you can't really solve an expression, but it does mean to take an expression and reduce it to its simplest form. So, PEMDAS, we all know what PEMDAS is, right? P is for parentheses, but I'm going to write grouping symbols instead because sometimes it's not a parentheses, it's a bracket, or it is a big old square root symbol and you have to do everything that's underneath it, or it might be an absolute value symbol and you have to do stuff in between it. So grouping symbol is really what's first. You might hear GEMDAS sometimes with a G. E is exponents, okay? We're used to those and put a little 2 here to remind you, exponents. Multiplication and division, those go together, right? You're supposed to do those from left to right, not always multiplication first, okay? You want to make sure you're aware of that, left to right, okay? Addition and subtraction is last, which is also from left to right. Sometimes you actually subtract first, okay? Left to subtract, I'm writing that wrong. Left to right, okay? So again, PEMDAS should not be new to anybody. However, some of the problems I'm going to show you are a little bit more intense and may require some more 8th grade thinking than 5th or 6th grade thinking, which is when you first learn PEMDAS. So I'm just going to go through a bunch of examples. Feel free to kind of skip through this video, go quickly through it as you feel like you understand things. I'll try to put a star or something if it's weird. So this first problem, again, PEMDAS. Start with parentheses or grouping symbols. We don't have any. We move to exponents. What is important here, I'm putting a star. This problem says -4 squared. We need to determine, does that mean -4 times -4, or does it mean 4 times 4, right? There's a difference. In this case, we're going to assume that it's actually this one, okay? However, there's a negative in front. So let me erase a little bit and give myself some room. What this really means is -16, okay? Because it's separate. There's kind of like an imaginary line there. -4 times 4, which is 16, plus 24 divided by 3 times 2. For it to be the other way, it would need to look like this. For it to be an actual -4 times -4, you would need to have a negative within the parentheses being squared, okay? But it's not. We don't have this situation, okay? So let's just continue. Again, we've done parentheses, we've done exponents. Now it's multiplication and division. Here we go. I'm going to leave 16 alone. I'm going to add 8 to that times 2. Why did I divide first instead of multiply? Because, again, it's left to right. Okay, at this point, still taking care of multiplication and division, so I'm going to leave 16 alone, plus 8 times 2 is another 16, so my answer is 32. Okay, that has been evaluated or simplified. Alrighty, next problem. If you use first for parentheses, or in this case, grouping symbols, we have an absolute value symbol. That's what those bars mean. So we're going to work through those middle two things that are in there, the subtraction and the exponents first. Even within the grouping symbol, though, you have to still follow PEMDAS, so we're going to have to do the exponents first, which is 25, 5 times 5. Okay, now I continue. 10 minus 25 within this, that gives me -15. Well, again, absolute value, these bars right here, that means the distance from 0. So -15 is 15 away from 0. 15 divided by 5 is 3. Okay, moving right along. We have a lot of grouping symbols here, right? You always want to go to the innermost grouping symbol. So even though we have these brackets here, there are parentheses within those brackets. So we're going to start there. I'm going to leave the 4 there, leave the bracket, leave the 25, leave the minus, leave the parentheses. 5 minus 2 is 3. Oh, the board's freaking out. Okay, so within those innermost parentheses, we have the 3. You'll notice it's being squared, okay? So again, I'm not going to deal with subtracting yet because I still have to do my exponents. 3 squared is 9. Okay, 4 times 25 minus 9. 25 minus 9 would be 26. So because there's no operation in between the 4 and this bracket, that means it's multiplying. So 4 times 26, that would be 104. There's your answer. At this point, if you kind of want to pause and try them out before you watch, that's totally fine. Again, I know that this is going to get kind of redundant, me doing problem after problem, but I am going to still work them out step by step. just in case you do need an explanation. So kind of watch this video at your own pace, do what you need to do to make sure you are understanding. Okay, so this fraction problem, I'm going to go ahead and draw that bar there because I want to do that last. The whole fraction piece of it, I want to simplify the top, simplify the bottom, and then I'll kind of deal with the fraction. So on the top, I have negative 22 minus 2 squared. Well, again, within these two parentheses, I still need to follow PEMDAS, which means I would do the exponent first. So I've got negative 22 minus 4. Okay? On the bottom, I can go ahead and just do the bottom on its own. 5 minus 3 is 2. So let's continue with the top. Negative 22 minus 4, that is negative 26. So now my top's done. On the bottom, I have a 2. Now that my top has been simplified as far as it'll go and the bottom has been simplified as far as it'll go, I can actually simplify this using division. So negative 26 divided by 2 would be negative 13. Oops. Okay. Next problem, again, PEMDAS, starts with a P, would be parentheses, but in this case we have a square root symbol, which is like a grouping symbol. It's grouping all of this underneath it together. Okay, so I'm going to start with that, again with exponents. 3 squared is 9, divided by 8 on the outside. 9 minus 5 is 4. Okay, square root of 4 is 2. We'll find out what this symbol means later. And then 2 divided by 8, well, that's a fourth. And when I say later, I mean like way later, like March later. So really, I'm cool with just a fourth. In fact, I'm just going to erase it. 2 divided by 8 is a fourth. Okay. Last problem. Again, this is all underneath the square root, so I'm going to do everything inside of it first. So 5 squared is 25. 4 squared is 16. 25 minus 16 would give us, no, yes, 9. Did I do that right? Okay, square root of 9, remove this, would be 3. Alrighty, continuing on. This is a separate thing altogether. It's not really PEMDAS, at least it isn't yet. This is where you're actually going to use values given to you and plug them into an expression that has variables. So it says simplify first, then evaluate if if W equals 3, V is negative 2, and B is 5. Well, again, it says simplify first. So let's take number 7 here, and let's go ahead and distribute this negative 4. So 8W minus 4W, the negative times the negative is plus 24. A lot of y'all struggled with that on your quiz. Got to count those signs. Let's keep simplifying. Let's combine like terms here. So 4W plus 24. These are not like terms anymore, so I cannot combine any further. It is simplified, but I have these variables defined for me up at the top of my page, right? So W is 3. So that means I have this 4 here. It's being multiplied by W. Well, it's being multiplied by 3. I get that from up here, okay? And then plus 24. So then I do PEMDAS here. 4 times 3 I do first, 12. 24 is 36. Okay, so again, we're simplifying first, and then we are solving, or simplifying, I guess I should say. Plugging in, evaluating, whatever you want to call it. So number 8, again, let's simplify first. So I'm going to leave 4.5v alone. 2 times 3v is 6v. 2 times negative v is negative 2v. Okay, so now if I notice, shouldn't write the 4. I notice that everything is a v. So really, I actually have all like terms here. So I can combine 4.5 plus 6 minus 2. 4.5 is plus 6 is 10.5. 10.5 minus 2 is 8.5v. Okay? Now, I know that v is negative 2. So really, I have 8.5 times negative 2, giving me an answer of negative 17. Last one, again, I'll simplify first. So I'm going to distribute my negative 3. Then I'm going to combine like terms, so negative 3b plus 6b. And now, since it's simplified, I can evaluate. I know that b over here is 5. So 3 times 5 minus 12, 15 minus 12, which is 3. Alrighty, so that's another type of evaluating the expression, is whenever you're plugging in known values into the variables. Okay, so here's a couple more. Gives you a fancy looking fraction, and they tell you what both x and y are. Okay, so I'm going to plug these numbers in blue and write the rest of the problem in a different number. So x is -2, or different color, sorry. Now, I put that first because there's an x first up in my problem right here. But then it's being squared, then it's being added to 3 times I come across another variable, y. Well, I look over here and I see that y is 2/3. I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. Then I move on to +2. So again, everything I'm writing in green is coming from this right here. Everything I'm writing in blue comes from these over here. Okay, all over x. Well, again, x is -2 according to this right here. So now I just simplify this, which takes some work. My first line, I've got a -2 that's being squared. Well, I need to go back to my original problem. X is being squared. X in its entirety is being squared. Well, x is -2, so really I should have done this. -2 all on its own is being squared. Well, what is -2 times -2? It's +4. Okay? Plus, I could go ahead and do my multiplication. 3 times 2/3 is 2. Bring that down, bring this down. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and continue simplifying the top. 4 plus 2 is 6, 6 plus 2 is 8 over -2. 8 divided by -2 is -4. If I'm going too fast for you or you get a little lost, make sure you rewind, go back, watch it again. It's the beauty of a video. Okay, so let's do this again. I'm going to write this down exactly as I see it. Just whenever I encounter a variable or a letter, I'm going to go pull it from this list over here. So 1/2. Okay, I'm going to write 1/2. It says A, so I need to go see what A is. I see over here that it's 6. Okay, so 1/2 times 6. Okay, minus, it says B. Well, again, I'm going to come over here. B is -1. Squared. Well, again, thinking about the problem I just did, it's B in its entirety that's being squared. B is -1, so all of B right here is being squared. Okay, all over C. Going over here, C is 8. So now I just simplify the top, simplify the bottom, and then finally divide. So I'm going to start with 1/2. No, I'm not. I'm going to start with my exponents. -1 squared. Well, -1 times -1 is +1, right? But in front of that, I have 1/2 times 6 minus all over 8. Okay, continuing on, 1/2 times 6, that's just half of 6, so I've got 3 minus 1 all over 8. And then 3 minus 1 is 2 over 8. I'm going to simplify, make it a 4th, call it a day. Alrighty, just to go back a little bit, when a lot of y'all see this, you want to do plus plus and call it a positive. But you have to do exponents first. And because this square right here means that -1 is being multiplied times itself, -1. -1 times -1 is +1. If I put this over here, you'll see that I'm still going to be subtracting 1. It's not going to be just adding in general. It's still going to be subtraction of a +1. Oh, and that's all. Cool. Okay, well, the end. Miss you guys.